Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a very exciting video for you guys today. We are going to be talking about the eyeshadow palettes I am most excited to get some use out of during the summertime. These are all existing palettes in my collection. I've had most of these for a while, some for several years, and there's probably a good chance if you are an eyeshadow palette lover like myself that you may own one or two of these as well. Now I love all of my palettes any time of year, but these are the palettes and the color stories that I get most excited about in the summertime. I'm hoping that this video will be fun and helpful for you whether you are in the market for maybe a new palette to try for the summer, or if you're just wanting to get use out of the palettes you already own, then this is the video for you. I hope that you guys are excited about this one. As always, a special welcome to those of you that are new to my channel. Hope that you'll stick around, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and with that said, let's jump right into the palettes. Alright, so I technically have 7 palettes here, but a couple of them are kind of, not necessarily dupes for each other, but they're kind of alternatives. So maybe if you don't have one, you might have the other. As we go through the palettes, I of course will be including on the screen some pricing information. We'll do a little bit of finger swatching, but let's kick things off with one of my very favorite summertime palettes. And it's this one right here. This is the Alamar Cosmetics original palette. This is their Reina del Caribe, which I am sure I am not saying that right, palette. This came out a couple of years ago. I actually got this in a BoxyCharm, and I instantly fell in love with this palette. This is a beautifully formulated, beautiful color story. Not to mention, this packaging just is so very summertime to me. It has some pops of blue, which I will admit that I don't get a ton of use out of, but when I'm wanting a little bit of color or a pop of a blue or a green, these are the type of shades that I really enjoy using. I love these two lid shades right here. This green right here, I've talked about this several times on my channel if you've been with me for a while. And also this kind of champagne shell pink. They are so stunning on the lid, and they actually pair beautifully with these shades right here. I find that I can pop the green on my lid whether I'm using the orange or the yellow or the burgundy or the brown, and the same is true with the pink. It also pairs beautifully with the orange, with the yellow, with the burgundy, and with the brown. These mattes down here, I love every single one of them. This is a really nice orange yellow that's not overly yellow, because I know yellow is a color that a lot of people can be intimidated by because it doesn't always look good with every look and on every person. It's kind of a polarizing, more trendy color, but this one has just enough peach or orange in it to where it's actually wearable. It looks beautiful in the crease. It looks more like a peach than a yellow. You guys might also know my feelings on a bold, intense orange. This is a beautiful one, but it's not too neon or intense. If you pop a little bit of this on your outer corner and then smoke it out with this brown or even this burgundy shade, it is such a lovely, lovely look. I just really love the formula of these mattes as well. They are so pigmented, but so easy to blend and work with. They did come out with another palette about a year ago that I still have not picked up. I'm very interested in picking that one up, and I would love to see more from this brand. I know they are a smaller brand. Their releases are much smaller and far between, but boy, do they have a good formula. I would love to see some more palettes from them, but I cannot wait to give this thing some use this summer. Another palette that I am so excited to reach for this summer. This is one of the palettes that when I think of summer, this is one of the first palettes that I think of. Did I say that about the last palette? Okay, let's be real. I could say that about all of these palettes, but this is truly one of the ones that comes to mind first, and it is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. I really, really love this palette. This is the one that I am wearing on my eyes today. Let me just walk you guys through kind of what I did before we get into the details of this palette, but for today's look, I went in with a mix of these two shades right here in my crease. Then I took a little bit of this color right here, Clove. I love this color in my outer corner. It is kind of like a burgundy plum that is almost has a little bit of brown in it that makes it a little bit more neutral. I then took a little bit of this color, Azalea, the shimmer. Kind of is like a rosy orange, and popped that on my outer lid. Then I took this champagne gold right here and put that all over the inner part of my lid. This is another shade that is so interesting. It looks kind of just like a traditional gold, but it has quite a bit of like a peach flip to it that's just very unique. I love Natasha Denona's mattes, and I love the shimmers inside here. They're not super foiled and reflective, but they do pack a really nice, beautiful, brightening punch. They're the type of shimmer formula I think that even those with more mature eyelids that are maybe more concerned about shimmers making their lids look more textured than they are, these shimmers are a little bit more smooth and a little bit more forgiving. This is such a fun summer color story. I love just kind of the watermelon tones in here, the sunset tones. I know this is called the Sunrise palette, but I actually think this looks more like a sunset to me than her actual sunset palette. I love the oranges in here. These yellows, if you are into yellows, are really, really fun. You get this beautiful iridescent kind of purple in here that pairs beautifully with some of these other shades, and so many good neutrals as well. And that's what I love about this palette so very much. And what I feel like I was missing from the Love palette is this just gives you a lot of neutrals. Even though it looks very bold and colorful, there's a good section of shades here that although they have some color to them, they're also not over the top or overly bold. You can easily work them into a very soft or neutral look. I do want to mention that there is a dupe for this palette. I have not tried it out myself. It's from Alter Ego. It is called their Aurora palette. I will link it for you guys down below, and I will also link a couple of videos. I have seen Jen Phelps, Allie Glines, and Sabrina all do a video on that dupe palette. So if the $65 price tag on this thing is understandably out of your budget, take a look at those videos because the Alter Ego version of this palette is just $16. But I have another smaller palette I wanted to mention that I'm not going to say is a dupe, but really mimics kind of the vibe and feel of the Sunrise palette. And it's this one right here. This is from Huda Beauty. This is her Coral Obsessions palette. Another palette that I just love reaching for in the summertime. I love the tones inside here. They are fun and bold, and I know a lot of people might look at this and look at some of these like bright pops of color and think, whoa, that's intense. But when you pair a bold yellow or a peach or even this bright red with something more subdued like this deep rusty brown, you can get a really nice, more neutral look than I think you would expect looking at this color story. I love the shimmers inside here. I'm a huge fan of Huda's shimmer formula. I have heard some people say they don't like Huda's shimmer formula inside these Obsessions palettes, but I've always had really good luck with it. Now, Huda Beauty is not an affordable makeup brand necessarily, but I actually think these palettes, for giving you 9 shades, are a good bang for your buck when you're going more high-end. I also want to mention once again though, there is a company called C Color Cosmetics that has a dupe for this palette. Again, I haven't tried that specific palette out before, but I have heard good things, and I have tried C Color's formula out. I prefer the Huda shimmer formula to the C Color formula, but for the price difference, if this one's out of your budget, that's definitely a great alternative. Really quickly, I want to just kind of compare these palettes at a glance. As you can see, they're not exact dupes. I mean, obviously this one has a lot more shades, a lot more variety. You get some plums and pinks and purples in here that are not in this palette, but I can find at least 4 or 5 near dupes from the Sunrise palette inside the Huda palette. So I'm going to swatch just a couple of the similar shades. Let's swatch this rusty brown right here alongside the rusty brown inside the Huda palette. So there they are. As you can see, they're very, very similar to each other. And now taking a look at this peach right here alongside the peach inside the Huda palette. These are both mattes. There they are. You can see this one is a little bit darker, but I think if you combined this one with the shade above it, it actually would be much more similar than what I'm showing on my fingers. And last I want to swatch this kind of bronzy copper color right here, the color Azalea, alongside this color right here in the corner from Huda Beauty. So there you have it. While the palettes are not exact dupes, they definitely have a very similar feel or vibe to them. They're very warm and rusty and fiery, but in a softer way, if that makes any sense at all. I do love this palette, and I especially love reaching for it in the summertime. Next up is one I could not do this video without mentioning because it's one of my all-time longest standing favorite palettes. It's the Born To Run palette by Urban Decay. I would guess that many of you might own this palette. It's been very raved about for a very long time. I get probably the most comments from you guys as this being a palette you want to see me use or that you own yourself. I did my first ever 7 looks video with this palette, and it is such a wonderful palette. I mean, let's just talk about the packaging briefly. Does this packaging not just scream summer? And I think in a summertime when most of us are not going to be able to travel, it feels kind of nice to pull this out and just dream. Although, I don't know, maybe some of us might pull this out and feel like it's a big slap in the face. I personally enjoy looking at it. It inspires me. And of course, what inspires me the very most is the shades inside. This is a beautiful palette. I love the formula of these. I've heard a few people say that they were not particularly fond of the shimmer formula inside this palette. I've had no trouble with it. I won't say it's my favorite, most rich, pigmented, buttery shimmer formula that I've ever tried. I think this palette has a major leg up on the shimmer formula to this one, but I do think it's really nice. And more than anything, I just love the variety inside here. If you are someone that enjoys your neutrals but likes to occasionally play with color, this is the palette for you. I think it's such a great combination of shades and finishes. You really can do almost anything with this palette. I find most of the colors in here to be a little bit more subdued on the eyes, which is how I prefer my colorful eye looks to be. I love this corner right here is one of my favorites, mostly for these 3 mattes. I think they are just so rich and intense and pigmented, but also blendable. The colors are beautiful. I love these tones for summertime. I also love a good bronzy eye in the summertime, and this gives you a cooler tone bronze option and a warmer, more coppery bronze option as well. You have plenty of transition shades in here, from a very basic kind of camel color to an orange to this peach color right here, which also looks beautiful in your transition area. And I love the blue tones inside here. This blue green right here is one of my favorite kind of more blue colors in my collection. It's just such a beautiful, soft, almost more silvery, but it's just soft. If you like a less bold blue or green, this is the perfect color to kind of dip your toes into. I just love it. I think it's amazing. It gives you a good black, gives you a good brown, gives you some good basic inner corner shades or lid shades and neutrals. But for those of you that don't have this, maybe it is out of your budget. There is a dupe palette for this from C Color Cosmetics. I've heard really good things about. Again, I haven't tried that specific one, but I've heard actually some people even say they prefer the formula in that one to this one. It is significantly more affordable, so I will link that down below for you guys if you're interested in checking that one out. But I do want to mention one other palette that's not a dupe, but is very similar, and I actually just discovered this while looking through my palettes for this video, and it is the Profusion Sunkissed palette. Now, I want to show you guys these color stories side by side. Here is the Profusion palette. Now, probably the first thing that might throw you off is this section right here of greens and yellows. These are not going to be found in the Born to Run palette, but if you take those shades out and take a look at the browns and the blues and the plums, the greens over here and the neutrals over on this side, even the purple right here, you'll find that there's quite a few similarities between these two palettes. In fact, I would even say, well, I don't think the formula of this one is quite as good as the Urban Decay one. In some cases, I might even prefer this palette just because I'm a huge fan of these two rows right here. I love these lime greens. I love this kind of golden green shade right here. You get some really beautiful yellowy golds that are so stunning in the summertime. And you even get this really interesting iridescent kind of green white gold that's so pretty. This is just a really fun palette to play with. It's very affordable. You can find this palette for around $15 versus the what, 49 or 52 of the Urban Decay. So I'm a very big fan of both of these palettes. I think if you have one or the other, I think you can get some beautiful summertime looks out of them, but I'm very excited to reach for them both this summertime. Down to my last two palette recommendations. These ones I love both of them equally. They're similar to each other in that they give kind of a similar vibe. They have some similar shades, but they're the ones that I go to when I'm really wanting a beautiful, classic, summery bronze look. And it's these two palettes right here. So I have the Double Entendre palette from Colourpop and the, it's upside down, Desert Oasis palette from BH Cosmetics. So let's start with the Colourpop palette. This is a newer palette to me, as in I've only had this for about 6 months, but it has fastly become one of my favorite warm-toned neutral eyeshadow palettes. Is warm tone neutral a thing? You get a lot of browns in here. They lean a little bit warm, but in such a beautiful way. These are the type of bronzes and golds that I just think look good on anyone, really any time of year, but especially in the summertime. If you're someone that's more fair and you get a little bit of a tan in the summer, these shades are really going to make your tan look extra gorgeous and stand out. And for those of you that have medium to deep skin tones, I just think these bronzy golden colors are so stunning. What I love so much about this palette is the range that you get in here. You get a good range of light inner corner or lid shades when you want to do something really brightening on the lid. You also get a good mid-tone range, so these bronzes right here are a little bit deeper, more bronzy. You also get a good range of transition shades in here that I feel like would cover a large spectrum of skin tones from very, very light to deeper. But then they give you some richness in here too, which I love. A rich outer corner with a bronze lid. You get a really nice matte brown here along with a deep matte brown right here. This one does have some gold glitter in it, so you're gonna get a little bit of that gold flip. And I love that they give you kind of a rusty kind of berry tone brown that looks so pretty in the outer corner. This is just a great palette. I've never used this palette and come away disappointed in my eye look. It always turns out amazing. It's kind of one of those palettes that you don't have to think about very much when you reach into this. It just gives you everything you want. It's beautiful, it's lovely, and I love it all year round, but I especially love this type of a bronzy look in the summertime. But if you don't have that palette and you happen to own the BH Cosmetics Desert Oasis palette, but this is a lovely palette. Obviously it's a little different in that you get some blue tones in here, but if you look at just some of the basics in here and some of the bronzes and golds and champagnes, I really feel like this will give you a lot of what you get inside here. And I think even one thing that this palette maybe has going for it, other than that it's probably not as travel friendly as the other one, I love these highlights as highlights. They are beautiful, blinding highlighting formulas if you like a good blinding highlight, which I do, especially in the summertime. In fact, I think I included this in a favorites video a couple of months ago just for the highlights alone because I just think they are so beautiful. And you can definitely use these highlights on your lids. You can use these kind of bronzy golds to get a couple of different options for a beautiful bronzy lid, but they also give you a good range of browns. You've got your lighter brown, a medium brown, kind of an orangey red brown, and then this very, very deep, almost cooler tone brown in here as well. Covers all of your basics for a beautiful bronzy eye regardless of what your skin tone is, and that gives you a couple of pops of color in here as well. It is a wonderful palette, and it definitely, with all that shine in there, screams summer to me. So with that, those are my recommendations or my picks for summertime eyeshadow palettes. I cannot wait to use these over the coming months. And of course, I know it is not summer everywhere, but I absolutely think any of these palettes would be suitable for any time of year. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I would love now to hear from you guys. What eyeshadow palette are you most excited to reach for during the summertime? Whether that's something new or something old, sound off in the comments down below. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate you guys. I hope that you are doing well. Sending you so much love, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. I know I was touching my hair a lot in that video. I apologize for those of you that it annoys. Trust me, it annoys me sometimes as well while I'm editing, but I'm human. Let's just move past it. They're the ones that I kind of gravitate towards the most. What was this? But I can find at least 4 or 5 near dupes in the Sunrise palette, in the Huda palette. Okay, let's go through what's on the rest of my face. This is for me more than for you guys because I forget sometimes to write it down, and I think I'll remember when I'm editing 3 days later, and I never do. Peri Para Ink Lasting Cover Foundation, Revlon concealers. I have my, I forgot the name of this, Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer on, the Persona highlighter in Zuma. Okay, talk about summertime best highlighter of all time. This thing is like liquefied golden perfection. It is beautiful. Milani Luminoso. By the way, this is the original. I've had this thing for about 6 years and still going strong. On my lips, I have the Palladio Naked Lip Liner, the Sephora Tan Lines Lipstick, the NYX Butter Gloss in, what is this one? Creme Brulee. Got some gel liner in that is nearly expired. This is the, I think it's from Pretty Vulgar. In my brows, Wet n Wild Retractable Eye Pencil, Benefit Gimme Brow in my brows. Mandy. And I think that is it.